What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Paige discussing her horror from dating Alberto Del Rio, the time that Triple H thought Andrade and Zelina Vega were an actual couple, original plans for Roman Reigns at Hell in a Cell, The Rock sends Chris Jericho a heartfelt message, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now our first story looks at Paige opening up with her horrors with dating Alberto Del Rio. Former WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio is currently in jail awaiting for the crimes he has committed. Now Del Rio's former girlfriend and fiancée Paige is talking about her own past problems with Del Rio. Paige appeared on the Grown Ass podcast and discussed her time with Del Rio. I've never spoken about it before, whether podcasts or interviews. I always stayed away, but now it's completely out there. I'm like, why am I shying away from this? Why am I not brave enough to talk about it? Now, although Paige didn't go into details, she hinted at some scary sounding scenarios. In the beginning, you're fighting back with this person, but in the end, it becomes a cycle. Eventually, something is going to happen to you every day. You could be trapped in a room for 6 to 7 hours, getting your ass beat every couple of minutes, and it's doing all these crazy things to you. And Del Rio is facing possible life in prison if convicted on the current charges, hopefully where he can't ever harm a female ever again. Next up, Triple H thought Andrade and Zelina Vega were actually a real-life couple. Andrade and Zelina Vega have been together on screen for some time in WWE, including their time in NXT and on the main roster, so much so that Triple H apparently thought that they were an item. According to Zelina Vega, the WWE superstar and executive vice president of global talent strategy and development, was confused when she told him that she and Aleister Black were getting married. Appearing on Lillian Garcia's Chasing Glory podcast, Vega explained that she and Black look up to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon as parents and were excited to give them the news. She said, "I remember when I first told Hunter, he was like, 'Wait, you guys are together?' I was like, 'Yeah, we're gonna get married.' He was like, 'Wait, so you and Andrade?' He was so confused. I was like, 'No, that's just the storyline.' He said, 'Well, you fooled me. My babies are getting married. This is so cool.' He was so happy and so supportive. There are a number of WWE superstars who are real-life couples, and on occasion they even play couples on TV, just like former WWE superstar Rusev and his wife Lana. But that being said, it's easy to see how fans can sometimes confuse on-air pairings with real-life ones, but apparently even WWE executives can get things mixed up, and it's not only Vince McMahon. Next up, the original plans for Roman Reigns at Hell in a Cell. This year's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view match featured the Universal Champion battling Jey Uso in a brutal I Quit match, but according to Meltzer, that wasn't the original plan, as they only intended for one match between Reigns and his cousin Jey. Dave discussed this in his latest issue of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, noting, "The original plan for Reigns vs Uso was just one meeting, as the original Hell in a Cell booking was going to be a four-way with Reigns, The Fiend, Strowman, and a fourth person, which explains the Reigns Fiend tease that was never followed up on at that time. The WWE wisely utilized Jey for a second match once it became clear the first match was something worth following up. Moving The Fiend and Braun Strowman to Raw was a good way to keep them apart from Roman Reigns, so there would be no need for a rematch, since the WWE wants to continue building Reigns up and they shouldn't job The Fiend out to him. As for Strowman, he was starting to lose too many matches on SmackDown before he exited, and further losses would have undercut his character, as well as made things a little confusing with a heel Strowman battling a heel Reigns." Next up, WWE is contacting AEW Stars. AEW has an incredible array of talent on their AEW Dark roster, and it's clear the WWE's rival is looking to build new stars on its YouTube program, something which hasn't escaped the WWE's attention. According to Fightful.com, the WWE has shown interest in a number of wrestlers working on AEW Dark. According to Wrestling News' Paul Davis, Ben Carter impressed executives and fans several weeks ago when he appeared on some Dark shows and late-night episode of Dynamite. Not long after his last appearance, he was signed by WWE and is expected to start with them soon. It's unclear who else WWE has their eyes on, but it wouldn't be a shock if many wrestlers from previous and future Dark shows get offers as WWE continues to stack their roster. While the WWE's policy of releasing wrestlers and hiring new ones is nothing new, as the company hopes to lock down potential stars and deny the competition of these stars. Next up, that time Vince said Steve Austin will never main event. Now, over the years, Vince McMahon has made some questionable calls, and thankfully, he avoided what might have been the biggest blunder of his time running the WWE. Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts was recently interviewed on the YouTube show Premiere Live TV and talked about talking up Steve Austin to Vince McMahon. When Steve Austin came to the WWF, I was helping write television, and I watched him and I said, "This MFer got it, man. He's got that it factor and he doesn't even know he's got it. I'm starting to scoot him into places, sort of as an afterthought so nobody was watching." Well, one day I told Vince, I said, "That guy right there is going to be your next superstar." "You're kidding me, Jake." He said, "That guy, he'll never make it past 5th, 6th match. He's not a main eventer." I said, "F it, he ain't." He said, "Do you think so?" I said, "Yeah, I think so, and we tried the thing, and I guess it might have worked, huh?" As fans know, Steve Austin helped revive the moribund WWF, helping the promotion establish the Attitude Era, win the Monday Night War, and take WWF to new heights. It's difficult to imagine anyone else helping the WWF as much as Stone Cold did, despite impressive stars such as The Rock, Mick Foley, and Triple H. Do you think they ever would have succeeded without Stone Cold's help? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, why Miro isn't wrestling at Full Gear. Miro has been in AEW for some time, which has fans wondering why he isn't wrestling at the promotion's Full Gear pay-per-view, especially since he's seen as a star and is involved in a storyline where he's teaming with Kip Sabian against Best Friends. Well, according to this week's Observer, the reason there was no Miro and Kip Sabian versus Best Friends match on the pay-per-view is the decision was made to keep that as a long-term Dynamite program, similar to Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz and Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks. What was your opinion on Miro not being on the pay-per-view? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, an update on WWE's Twitch policy. It appears that there are some more discrepancies with the WWE's policy of requiring superstars to either take down their Twitch accounts or turn them over to the WWE so they can monetize them. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com appeared on the list and your boy on YouTube, revealing main roster people have to take it in. NXT is exempt for now. I don't know why that is. In addition, Dave Meltzer clarified the situation in the WWE. There's been talk of a meeting taking place on 30th October, but there was no meeting. Talent was made aware of no more Twitch channels and that marketing yourself on YouTube is okay. Meltzer talked about the possibility of the WWE's controversial move inspiring wrestlers to gather to fight back, with him observing, "As far as people think this could be a unification issue where they will try and stand up together or unionize, I don't sense this or anything will do that. As far as what happens next in the political world, they do have an ally who is a fan and will push for them, but there are also still a lot of things that will shake out as to whether or not anything more comes of this. If Trump wins, anything the slightest bit negative to Vince McMahon or Dana White looks to be totally off the table. If Biden wins, there is still the issue of spending time for such a relatively few people. In the end, it's up to the WWE locker room to stand together, and as we pointed out before, history suggests nothing will motivate wrestlers to stand up for themselves." And finally, The Rock's heartfelt message to Chris Jericho. Last but not least, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is a man who hasn't forgotten who helped him in his rise to the top and recently paid a nice tribute to fellow WWE performer Chris Jericho. The Rock shared this on his Instagram. "Cool wrestling history on this day in 2001. I became 8-time WWE Heavyweight Champion, wrestling one of the all-time greats, Chris Jericho. Chris and I had phenomenal matches all around the world, including one electrifying night in Japan and one unforgettable night in Hawaii. Thank you for the honors, my brother. Proudly cut my teeth and made my bones in the wild world of pro wrestling. Learned some great invaluable lessons I apply today for success in my business and life." Chris Jericho is celebrating 30 years in the ring this year, with many tributes coming in to a performer who has influenced and helped many wrestlers, The Rock just being one of them. But there you have it, guys, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.